Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Lacey. So good to be with you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you got to come over today. And I wanted to talk to you about your newest project, Roses Without Thorns. And it's a really special thing to see it all coming together for me because I remember when you first started talking about this, and I think I even wrote about it one time to our fans, and some of our fans might remember you from The Mystery. You were one of the hero notes in there, and you had given.
I'm a hero.
Well, you are. You know, you've really been pivotal. You've really been pivotal in my life in so many moments of having to decide whether I was going to grow or stay the same, or go backwards. And so, just simple things of just conversations we've had, and how you just made me push forward into healing, or into like deliverance from demons or whatever, just like freedom in so many areas. So let's talk about Roses Without Thorns. What made you want to do something like this that's so, like, I mean, you're from Hungary, you moved to the States, you teach at a college, you know, you seem like you have a pretty stable life here. You work at the church, and why would you want to like take on something so big and, like, you know, I don't know,
I
just
think if I could point my finger, I could point to you because it's all your fault.
wow.
I will never forget the day when it all started. That day in 2013, February, I think it was February. And you called me and you were crying on the phone.
Yeah.
All I could hear was your cry.
Yeah.
And it took us some time just to, or at least took me some time to get out of you
Yeah.
what was going on.
Yeah, I didn't know, I couldn't speak. I remember I was having a hard time breathing through the crying.
And you told me about that invitation that you received from Durban, South Africa. You were invited to be the speaker at the worship conference. And then just getting ready for that conference, you had been looking into the circumstances of the country, the area that you were going to visit, and you discovered some really, really terrible and sad things.
Yeah.
How little children, especially girls, on the street and just in utter poverty, they are being raped and sexually abused in numbers that are staggering.
Yeah.
And I remember your question, why would God allow such a thing? You remember?
Yeah, because I didn't know anybody else to ask but you, and it was really important to say that, to ask that.
And I remember that only answer, if there is such a thing as an answer to this question, was that I don't know. I don't understand things, but I do know that our God is a God of redemption, and He can redeem anything. And if we just bring change to one person's life in our entire life, our life was worth living.
Yeah.
And then you asked me, you need to come with me. Well, it wasn't even a question, just and I remember thinking all the million reasons why I couldn't go. Yes.
Come with me to South Africa. I know you like have a normal
I'm
life,
leaving
but
in 3 weeks. And I was teaching at the university and had the job at church, and 3 weeks, like we were talking about flying to Africa, getting all the finances together, everything, And I remember telling you, I'll be praying for you. And then I put down the phone and I heard so clearly God saying, no, you're going.
Wow. Thank you, God.
And then in 3 weeks, everything just totally worked out financially at my jobs. And there we were at the airport.
Yes. I remember that phone call, and the thing that struck me about the thing that struck me about the the violence that happens when a child is abused in this way was seeing like this care package that the church I was going to speak at was going to give to the victims, and they listen to police scanners and they wait until they hear, and then they go to the location and give these care packages and
Yes.
try to provide some comfort after the trauma. And that alone is enough to make you want to cry. But then seeing the contents of the package and just recognizing, you know, there's a little teddy bear and then there's a package of maxi pads, like, and you're just like, these don't go together, you know, and it was just so overwhelming. And I remember when you answered the phone, and you're the only person I could think of to ask the question to, because of things we've talked about before, and just how could God see this happen? And you did say that you didn't know, and that He's a God of redemption, but you also said, we can't stop all the evil, but we can overcome all the evil.
Yeah, you're right.
You can overcome it. And I was like, that's amazing. And we can't do everything, but we can do something.
Yes.
And so, what an awesome thing to see something that feels over your head, an ocean of overwhelming darkness, and say, we may not be able to light up this darkness and turn this whole ocean to light on our own, but we can shine a light right where we are and watch the people come, watch the things come out of the darkness, you know? So I was just so grateful for that perspective. And I remember thinking, who are you to have this perspective? Like, who is this person? I can't go into this darkness without you reminding me, please come with me. Can you come with me? I don't know how it's going to work. And I'm so glad God told you yes. Because then when we went out, I remember going on we were driving on a safari, or we were driving on somewhere. We were driving around somewhere with a guy who gives tours, probably.
Yeah, he showed the work that the church, his church in Durban, has been already doing in the community.
Yes, and this is the first time I heard you talk about the idea of bringing some kind of like healing center to the place intentionally for these people.
Yes. So since 2013, it's been 5 years, and just surrendering to the call. It did take some time for me, but as of now, we are officially a nonprofit organization, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and has been connecting really deeply with the local outreach ministry, coming alongside them and working together, creating ideas not just to meet immediate needs such as a comfort bag, but also to see a greater transformation in the community. It is going to take time, but we are somehow convinced God has just given us so much hope for the people there, for God's purposes there, that we know that step by step, as we follow His directions, we can bring change.
And one of the things that was really inspiring that you spoke about when you came back from one of your trips out there that I think is something that we miss. And as a mom of 2 boys, I'm sorry, and somebody who has seen my boys come to a crossroads where they have to choose to follow the right path or to follow a destructive path. Even in the 7 years I've had my oldest, 4 years of my younger one, I've seen them choose to go down something that's not good for them. And I've seen them turn around and choose to go down something good for them. I've seen them, what we call it, spiraling up. You know, at any moment, I try to tell them, you can turn and you can make this right. You can turn and you can start going this way. You know, you have to ask Jesus for help and he'll help you. And I sort of plead with him so he understands he has choices. And no matter what, he's not lost if he just turns, you know? And one of the things that struck me that I feel like we don't talk about a lot in this subject of rape and abuse is you mentioned how you weren't going to solve the problem just addressing the girls, the victims. You have to address the brokenness in the boys.
Yes.
And you have to be able to let them know that you can come out of this darkness.
Yes.
You do have a choice. You're not doomed to this kind of a lifestyle that hurts women, because you're meant to rescue. You're meant to protect. You're meant to be, you know, to use this, how do you say?
It's a power that God has given man.
Yeah.
For good.
For good.
Yes. Having spent some time with the boys, it was so clear to me that it's the hopelessness.
Yeah.
It's a community where 70% of the people are unemployed. 70% never even finish high school.
Yeah.
To get a job, to dream about something different, it's almost impossible unless someone comes alongside them and say, you can dream, there is hope. And the boys, when someone brought the message of hope to them, that's when they became vulnerable. That's when they became, just opened up their own hearts, their own struggles. You know, hurting people hurt people.
Yeah.
It's a cycle of sin and hurt, because when we sin, we hurt others, and then we respond with sin and we hurt others back. So it's there needs to be the power of the gospel there to bring a breakthrough.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was so powerful to recognize, you know, that I think the words you used were, you can't solve this problem with only a heart for the victim. You have to have a heart for the one who hurt the person too.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, you know, how many people miss that? And how angry would it make people maybe who don't know how to come to that place because they know somebody who's been hurt or because they've been hurt. And I love the fact that, you know, it's something that you can say with your own history, with your own story, with your own hurts, to be able to look and say, and my own, you know, the people that I've seen and the experiences I've had, to be able to say, as a mom of 2 boys, and as a woman who judged men and hated the things I saw come from them, and to see that that's actually a lie about it's a lie of an identity that the enemy wants to write this lie over every male.
Yes.
And when we believe it, we empower the lie. And we bring the hopelessness and the, well, I can't win. Or we can believe and look at this person and say, you're made for greater things. You don't
Yes,
have to live in that lie. And then
That's
all
the
of a sudden
hope.
they're empowered.
That's the
I've seen it in my kids. I've seen it in my husband, that when I believe in him, he believes in
Exactly.
himself, and he has the strength to choose, to choose that, to believe that too. No, that's not who I am. This is who I really am.
Yes. That's our goal, and that's our plan even for the future, to bring in programs that reach not just the girls but the boys, to train them, to show them what it truly means to be a man,
Right.
and to change some elements of the culture
Yeah.
that not just they value the woman, but actually men lose their own value
Yes.
by treating women as they do.
Yes.
It's step by step, little steps.
Well, I think that's just so powerful, and I'm so glad that there's such a bigger vision than just, you know, something I learned from World Vision. When I went there, I was on the street after our trip was over, and I was just going to go buy something before we left, souvenir. And I was with one of the workers from World Vision, and there was a woman with a baby sitting on the street. And after they had shown me all the work that World Vision did, they established child-headed household jobs for the children, so they could learn how to make money.
Yes.
And I saw a man my age who had raised his brothers and sisters and had all these other, he was the head of a beekeeping business. And he had all of these young people learning how to keep bees. And they had raised enough money to buy a bike so it could deliver more honey. And they were so empowered and so confident. And there was other things they showed. But the thing that they taught us was the concept of we don't give fish forever. We teach them how to fish,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So that's kind of the idea. And so I was downtown. I saw this woman with a baby, and she was asking for money, and I reached in and was about to give her. All I had, I think, in cash was $1, and I was going to give her that dollar. And the man grabbed my arm, and he said, "No." He said, "She's strong and she can work. There's things she can do. This does not help her.
Yeah.
This hurts her."
Exactly.
And I was like, "What? You're World Vision. What are you talking about?" But
That's the true World Vision.
you want the world, to be able to grow.
Exactly.
Well, so there I was, like thinking about that, like, wow, I know that concept, and I thought about this when I was thinking about when you were talking about the boys and talking about the bigger picture, because we can put Band-Aids on the wounds, but if we don't try to figure out what we're doing to keep falling, how's this happening in the first place, then we're just going to need a lot of Band-Aids. You know what I mean? Like,
You mentioned the comfort bags, and yes, we need partners. Just the need for comfort bags is about $150 a month.
wow,
For just that one township.
wow,
Just for Quadabeca, just $150 a month.
Jesus.
We also help children to go and testify at courts. So when they go, it's a whole day process. And they need to be fed, they need to be supported in that, and that's not there. So another way of support is providing court lunches. And of course, we need counselors. At this point, the local outreach can pay only one full-time counselor.
For
One
all of
full-time counselor.
Wow.
It's like a drop in the ocean. And she has young women coming to her asking, "Mama, honest, how can I be just like you?" We need to have finances to support these young women to go and receive training as counselors. But, apart from these immediate needs, our first big project is going to focus on sewing machines. Sewing machines and training women in how to use the sewing machines provide stable jobs for these women so that they can support their family. But they will also produce clothing for many different avenues. For example, we need to add a brand new set of clothing to the comfort bags.
Yes.
The clothing that the children had on when the abuse happened is taken as evidence. So they are literally naked. They need to have
Wow.
a set of new clothing. Then these women could produce school uniforms. In South Africa, you cannot go to school without a school uniform. But school uniforms are extremely expensive. So many of the children are on the streets just like targets.
Wow.
Girls, little girls, because they cannot go to school because they don't have school uniforms.
Yeah.
So taking the children off of the streets and putting them in school, again, just the chance for them to be raped is less. So a few sewing machines can change so much.
Wow. And it, you know, this is a little side note of what you're saying, but it makes you really amazed at the opportunities we have in America that we don't recognize. That it takes a sewing machine to help a woman have even the option to build her life. And here we have businesses all around us that we can go and work in. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And we don't realize, you know, McDonald's right there has this sign,
Exactly.
hiring, you know what I mean? Like things like that where they can't empower themselves because they don't have that right in front of them to go figure it out. You know, that's amazing.
70% unemployment rate.
Right.
No transportation. They can't leave, the township.
Right.
People are stuck. 100,000 people are stuck in the township.
It makes you just really realize how blessed we are, and then how important it is that we do something with how blessed we are.
Yeah.
You know, I have this, and that's what's so beautiful about the way that scriptures teach us about generosity. They teach the people of God to be different. You're gonna use this much of your money and this much of your time, and in these times you need to remember the poor, you need to remember the oppressed, you need to remember those. If you have something and you have an extra, give it away. There's so many scriptures about that.
Yes.
And we don't even realize how much we have until we see that when a child's clothing set is taken away, they have no clothes.
Yes, there is nothing else left.
That's amazing. And then when a woman wants to empower herself, there's no avenue for it. Except if we recognize, well, we can help. We can help in one little way, you know? And then we can stop complaining so much and saying, I don't have any clothes.
Definitely, my life has changed every year I go, and I see more, and the community has received me. I just feel like I'm family now there, and everything goes to the need. Everything goes to the need. Last year we provided finances for 80 comfort bags.
Wow.
But I do believe that was just with a handful of people. So I believe when a whole huge family gets together to open up their hearts, then we can make a huge difference together.
Can't do everything, but we can do something, right?
Yes. One life at a time.
Yeah. Thanks for doing that for me here. One phone call at a time. And then I think that's just who we want to be. We want to live that way. We want to. What do we have? What time do we have left to do something?
Exactly. This
Little
is
bit.
the footprint that we want to live.
Yeah, we want to leave that footprint.
Yes. When we're gone, that's our footprint.
Awesome.
Thank you, Lacey, so much.
Thanks, Andre. I love you.
I love you too.